Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the L.A.M.E Book Club podcast. And we are coming back to you with another episode of Hot Goss with Unpopular Sauce. And I am so excited for this week's episode. I have a lot to say. I have a lot of thoughts, and so does Ellie. And they're good ones
this week.
They're good ones. That's all I have to say.
It was getting up early today and sifting through all Reddit theories possible. Your girl has studied.
Your girl has studied. I studied just as hard as I did for any final, and it was 20 minutes. I'm just kidding.
Well, here, let's get into it then. So this week...
Yeah, jump in. You're the one leading this.
This week, I wanted to bring up everything witches. Everything that has to do with witches in the Maasaverse, from Throne of Glass, Crescent City, and ACOTAR. So if you have not read all of those, all 15 books in completion, this maybe is not the episode for you.
Yeah.
But if you have...
This is your warning.
Let's get into it. So I want to start with something I saw on Instagram this week, and it just made me think. And it made me sad, and it should make you sad too. Manon and Dorian. We know by the end of Kingdom of Ash, they are a thing. They're a unit. They're probably going to be together forever. We don't really get the final, they're mated or anything like that, but they're together. Would you agree? Oh.
No, I wouldn't, actually. I feel like they're in a situationship. I was so upset with how that ended because I wanted them to be together so bad, and I think they want to, but they're both too stubborn, and they never decided really anything. And I think I know where you're going with this.
They're stubborn. I would say they both had incredible responsibilities on the other side of the earth. And they couldn't just ditch that. But they wanted to be together.
So true.
So let's just pretend
you're
that
so
for
right.
the sake
I don't
of
know.
argument,
I just was like,
they want to be together. We're gonna go with that. And so something sad. We don't know that Dorian's lifespan is locked. We don't know if he's locked into place. And I never realized that we didn't officially figure that out.
What do they call it? They call it the settling, right?
We didn't.
It's called the settling. Yeah, because we know we got confirmation that Aelin will settle. So her and Rowan are goodsies for that.
Also didn't settle.
But you're right.
I think we've all just kind of...
Well, Elid's not... I don't think Elid has enough witch in her for anything to... I think Elid is just pretty much a human, and Lorcan, that sucks for Lorcan. For Lord Lorcan
This is
Lockin.
going kind of off topic of what we're trying to do today, but I really thought Elid was going to settle into her witch powers and just come out full throttle, the baddest witch of them all. But she didn't, and then her and Lorcan became a thing, and I'm just sitting there like, but this is a Bella Edward situation, minus Bella turning into a vampire. She's just gonna die eventually, and then Edward would be all alone. / Lorcan, if you get what I'm saying.
I know. On one hand, I was so upset that didn't happen, because honestly, Elid and Lorcan were probably my favorite couple in the entire Throne of Glass series. I'm gonna be so honest. But mostly just because I love Lorcan and I love Elid. Elid was, like, honestly, her character development, Aelin's was great, but I think hers was my favorite out of everyone in the series. There's so many good ones to choose from in Throne of Glass. The character development is chef's kiss, and for most everyone, but I just loved Elid. So on one hand, I really wanted that to happen for her so that she could live forever. But on the other hand, I'm kind of glad it didn't, because I feel like it would have been a little bit cliche if everyone got powers and everyone lived, and you know what I mean? And like everyone at the end
It's unrealistic for everybody to have the perfect ending.
It's a bittersweet.
But back to Manon and Dorian, I guess I didn't realize that they really wouldn't have the perfect ending because we were not sure if Dorian would ever settle. And I'm drawn to think he would, because he has powers.
If his powers manifested, but his powers manifested when magic was still outlawed, or like suppressed. Like homie his powers are strong. So if
devil's advocate on that one, the king didn't ban his own powers, which means that Dorian's bloodline essentially was not banned. So it wasn't because his powers were stronger than everyone else, it's because the king...
Oh, you're right. I guess that's true. I was thinking,
powers.
I wasn't necessarily thinking bloodline.
Like that. So I think maybe he could have settled. Why didn't you write it in, Sarah? Now Manon, I've seen a fan art of Manon sitting at Dorian's grave because of this.
Oh gosh, don't even. My eyes are already starting to water. I don't want to talk about that. No. I put on mascara. We're moving on.
That's just to kick us off into the witchy theme of today. Now, here's the big money. This comes straight from Taylor. I'm not even going to pretend that this is mine or yours. This is from Taylor. So Taylor, thank you. But we need to talk about...
I wasn't going to take credit, but thank you for throwing that one out there.
That the works are cited, that we are not plagiarizing, that this is not my own thought, and therefore, if this is a horrible, stupid thought, it's on you, Taylor, it's not me. But I don't think this is stupid. I think this is really cool.
I also saw a reel about this separately. So Taylor isn't the only person that has thought about this. But I will, to just, again, give Taylor some credit. She told us all of this before we saw the reel.
Also, I would like to...
she's not, like, obviously the only person ever that's going to come up with something, but I will say these are her original thoughts, even though they almost directly align with what we saw online.
I'm sure. But I would also like to mention, it's so funny when you see all these reels and you're like, oh, cool, I need to remember that for later, and then you don't save it, and then later comes around and you're like, oh, I'm going to do a podcast about this, so you go to do some research and look it up, and nothing. There's nothing. It's as if ACOTAR didn't exist out there.
This feels like
nothing shows up.
This feels like a very niche situation for us and not for most people.
You went into that? So anyways, here we go. Mama Archeron was a witch. And maybe a seer as well.
Yes.
But we're going to really emphasize the witchy portion. So this was my thought. I added this into Taylor's notes. But Tamlin specifically asks Feyre when she first arrives at Prythian, your mother didn't tell you anything about fairies? Why? Why did he ask her that about her mother specifically and not her father or her parents? Your parents didn't tell you, your family didn't tell you, your mother didn't tell you. What are your thoughts?
See, and I love that point because it's going to tie in with everything else we're going to talk about. But it also could just, it seems so innocent when you're reading ACOTAR. It's not like, ooh, pointed. It doesn't feel pointed at all when you're first reading it. And honestly, because like, and this is very like gender roles, but typically moms raise daughters and pass on stories. Not to say that dads can't, but dads are generally working. You know what I mean? So like, I didn't think anything of it when he didn't say parents or mom and dad. When he just said mom, it felt like, why didn't your mom tell you?
Of Sarah herself and why everyone freaks out about her writing is because those little innocent details that we so easily overlook or just attribute to, because it's supposed to be that way. She'll write in as
or just accept
some dramatic twist. And that is why we have an entire podcast on this, because it's not just simple writing. It's detailed. There's theories to be had.
Exactly.
So my thought is that the mother was a well-known someone in the fairy world, in the Fey world, in Prythian specifically. And that's why he's saying, didn't your mother say something? Because he knows her mother. He knows of her at least and knows all that she knew and is wondering, why don't you know any of that? So.
Oh, when you said the mother, I thought you meant
like mother given.
Because there is.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mother, not her mother. But I'm tracking with you now. Yes, I mean, that would be so cool if she wasn't just a witch, if she was like a top tier witch that we come to find out later on. That'd be sweet.
I end up that way. So point number 1 towards that. Nesta was her mother's favorite and is always referred to everyone as a witch, or referred to by mostly the Illyrians, but I think a few other characters said like, oh, she's a witch. And she even, when she was at the Illyrian camp, plays into that a little bit when I think his name is Devlin, says, are you a witch? And she's like, Devlin. I am. And it makes you wonder, was she? And is she? And was her mom?
The way... I know, and just the way Sarah writes, it's like... Well, and I guess also for me too, I personally read ACOTAR before I read Throne of Glass, so there weren't any quote-unquote witches, at least as far as we know, in ACOTAR. No one was introduced as, this is
right,
so-and-so, she's a witch. Like, it was, so calling, and we knew her personality was kind of nasty. So, again, when someone said, what are you, a witch? And they're like, she's a witch. Like, I didn't think twice about it. I just accepted it because I took it as more of a personality thing, not a, oh my gosh, she legit could be one. But then now reading Throne of Glass and now making these connections.
If we would have read Throne of Glass first, if we would have connected that better. And
I know. I probably wouldn't have either, though, honestly, because it just still seems so innocent. Like,
most of the time, 99% of the time, I'm not putting things together until
that's so true.
And then
I don't do it until either later or someone else makes a comment, and I'm like, ooh, interesting, and then I start thinking.
Okay, point number 2. The Archeron mother, her bed was made out of ironwood, just like the witch's brooms in Throne of Glass. That, to me, I think that's the number 1 point. I know that's so small and kind of random, but I really feel like honestly, that is like, that's it. No. That confirms it. She's a witch. She's a witch!
Yeah, because her dad, her dad, like, specifically had that bed imported for her, too, right? It, like, she even wrote that in. I'm pretty sure that was part of it.
That sounds right to me. Point number 3, she was cold and distant. We know this from Nesta's recollection of her as well as Feyre's, and that's a common trait of witches in Throne of Glass.
Yes. Well, except for the 13 later on, but in they're still cold and distant even when they're not. Like, even once you have a heart.
Well, but until really that point.
Never mind.
Maybe the Crescents are different, but the Irontooth at least, and the other 3, the Blue Blood, the Yellow Legs, they were cold-hearted. Or no heart at all, and that was how they were supposed to be. So until the 13 kind of changed history, that would make sense of why the mother was like 100%. That. But then it's surprising that she would have fallen in love with a human male and had a family, I guess. I don't know. But then Astrid kind of had this secret life too, so she knew herself before the 13 had their revelation as well. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
good point.
Good point.
Number 4, random story in A Court of Silver Flames about their cousin drowning and the mom claiming that it was a drowning from a fairy. And Taylor writes that why would she suggest this if the wall was up and fairies haven't been seen in centuries? Could she have seen things that others couldn't, or was she from over the wall in Prithian already and saw that? Bless you.
Excuse me. Yes, that leans more towards seer, I think, than witch, but it would make sense if, well, to me at least, that is more of a point to prove that she was a seer. But it would make sense to, since seers aren't necessarily like super common, it would make sense for the mom to have been one since Elaine was one. So then it's like different things obviously are being passed down. How funny would it be though if that like ends up being the truth? Then Nesta gets kind of her witchiness from her mom. Elaine got her seeing abilities, and Feyre got nothing from her mom.
That brings me to point number 5. Great segue, Melissa. All 3 sisters have powers
You're welcome.
Is said to rival Rhysand's, and he's the most powerful High Lord that ever existed. We are well aware of that.
Yeah.
So it makes you wonder, why are they so powerful? Why did they get these powers? It was speculated that there's something else surging beyond what was made and Cauldron given. For instance, as a human, Nesta was able to break Tamlin's glamour. There's no reason for that. Also, I saw another thing, speaking on Elaine, that Elaine's beauty, it talks about every time someone meets her, they love her. They think she's so beautiful, she's so lovely, she's so sweet.
Yeah.
And what exactly is that but a glamour? Because that's exactly what Fae do when they want to glamour themselves to the humans. Everyone sees them as lovely. Feyre saw Tamlin as beautiful, whatever. So thoughts there that Elaine could have also been glamoring herself while Nesta was able to see through all of that. Well, food for thought.
Yeah, but to me that feels a little bit unlikely that Elaine would have been doing that. I really just think she's beautiful. Like, I don't think that... Not to say that couldn't be what's happening, but also, I mean, for her to be able to glamour unknowingly as a human, and then also be able to continue to glamour as Faye, like to glamour Faye then, because even Faye I know Faye just in general I think are more beautiful than human, and I think she got prettier like after being dumped in the cauldron. So I don't know, to me like that would be a cool concept, but it feels iffy, especially if, okay, again, that's the case, like Nesta potentially was able to use some kind of power as a human, Feyre or Elaine potentially was glamoring, but then we still have Feyre, who's also just as powerful and was not doing anything as a human. Like, that to me, that's just where that, I'm like, I don't know, but it would be a cool concept if that ended up being true.
I have nothing to back it up. I just saw it once and it comes to the forefront of my mind. I saw something that said that Nesta and Elaine might be from not different parents, but like a different father or mother than Feyre. Yeah, because they both have these underlying powers and Feyre didn't. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I wonder if that ends up like coming to light. I would be curious to know who their dad was then.
Yeah.
Watch, it's Hellion. Hellion's everyone's secret dad. Oh, how funny. Yeah. And then Elaine and Lucian would be half siblings and mated.
It's not unlike Sarah's past grievances.
I was just about to say, we know Sarah doesn't have a problem
oh my gosh.
with putting family members together, i.e. Aelin and Rowan.
Aelin and Aedion, a possible match as well.
No, I think that was never, I'm not going to count that because that was never actually a thing, but I just feel like Aedion was a little too excited about volunteering if needed, and I didn't like that, his eagerness about it. But I don't think it was ever a part of her plan or even in her mind for that to become a thing. So I'm not going to fault her on that one, but I will fault her for Rowan and Aelin. I don't care how distant she wrote in their relationship. They're related.
Fair. This is number 6, that witches amass power beyond their natural reserve. She says this in ACOTAR. So that's essentially what all 3 sisters did, is it not? They used spells and archaic tools to harness more power than the cauldron allotted, which sounds a lot like Nesta. And if they harness too much power, it corrupts them, leaving them to, quote, drink young blood to fill the coldness the magic left in them. So Taylor wonders, was Mama Archeron old because she had amassed too much power, and that is what killed her, and that's why the father didn't go looking for a typhus cure, because he knew that her true condition didn't have a cure?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I wonder though, so I'm 100% on board with this theory. My only thought is, what could she, what did she do with that power if she amassed too much of it? You know what I mean?
Brings me back to the point.
There's no.
Why did Tamlin know her? Was there some massive history that happened?
Exactly.
That no one's saying anything about.
Yeah, because I feel like if she amassed that much power, I guess this is me just assuming, but I would think that she would almost instantly become ill. And we know that she had 3 daughters. I mean, Feyre was 8 when she died. So, I mean, her kids were older and she wasn't sick. So maybe it doesn't happen instantly. Maybe it slowly was happening. And maybe that's why she was human. She did that to maybe almost preserve herself. And then it just caught up with her. I don't know. I'm really pulling things out of thin air here because I'm on board with that theory. I think it makes so much sense, and I want that so badly to be true. But then that just brings me, I just don't understand how she could have lasted as long as she did then if that was the case.
I think that's a whole story that could be written in.
But, exactly, I was going to say, but that could be almost probably an entire book, them just, learning about their mom and figuring out, what she did.
Me too. I think that's a really solid theory, Taylor. Number 7, why did the mom ignore Feyre her entire life, but then demand that she looked after her family? Why didn't she ask Elaine to look after the family, or Nesta being, older?
Or Nesta, her favorite child.
Why was that the case? Was it because she was also a seer, similar to Elaine, which is how that power got passed down, and knew what would become of Feyre. She saw herself in Nesta, but in Feyre, she saw their salvation.
100%.
That's the one that sells you?
That's, yeah. Yes, No, I mean, I've been sold, but, like, that, yes, like, that makes so much sense. Like, if she saw Rhys and saw Feyre and saw the fact that she becomes a high lady, like, absolutely, I would ask that kid to watch over the rest of my family. Like, totally, that makes so much sense.
She asked Feyre, the youngest out of everyone, and I overlooked that, too. I was like,
she was 8.
Yeah, we always ask our youngest to take care of the whole family. That makes sense.
Yeah, we always ask our 8-year-old to take care of everyone. That, obviously, that's what I would do on my deathbed. Makes sense.
I do think that maybe that does have to do with her seeing that Feyre is the savior of everyone, and so she's saying,
totally,
stick with, save the family, save everybody else.
I think, to me, that's like a surreal moment. Like, how we, like, stick with the High Lord, stick with the High Lord. We all everyone assumed it was Tamlin, and because he was a High Lord, and that's kind of how it was written. So, like, I think with her mom, like, okay, protect the family. Well, it's odd that she asked the youngest, but she's the main character, and okay, yeah, sure, like, she has the purest heart. Well, I don't know, Elaine has a pretty pure heart, but Elaine also does nothing, and Nesta was Nesta. So, like, okay, honestly, personality-wise, of the 3, it would make the most sense to me that she would ask Feyre, even though she was the youngest. So, like, there's just so many ways to explain away why she did that, and I don't necessarily know if it, like, needs an explanation, but that is the perfect, like, storyline for Sarah to take something that we all just, like, thought was normal, kind of what we've said multiple times already in this episode, and then to bring it back and have it be, like, this huge revelation, this underlying plot that we had no idea even existed, and she just ties it all together with a perfect bow. This is that, 100%.
I think that's a good one. So that is our conclusion, or not mine, but Taylor's conclusion on why Mama Archeron is actually a witch. Now, here's a little bit of Ellie coming in here. I'm going to derail this whole thing and bring forth to the council why Mama Archeron isn't a witch. And she isn't Fae. And she is just a human that may have had magic passed down from a certain lineage of a certain king who had magic that was also human. Remind you of anyone? Dorian.
It sure does, Mr. Dorian Havliard.
So why I bring that forth to the table is because in A Court of Silver Flames, Nesta talks about having, like, winds guide her, like almost like a phantom hand guiding her to where she needs to be, or in the library. Do you remember that? Where she just talks about, like, kind of just air, like, moving around her, guiding her.
Yes, and now that you're saying that, I'm remembering that Dorian had that ability to do things like that. Like, he had a phantom hand, and Manon loved it.
And so did we.
So did we all.
So the hand, this one seems pretty obvious, but in Throne of Glass, Dorian's power manifests as a phantom hand. So could the wind and phantom hand that Nesta feels be her ancestor/relative reaching out to her to guide her? So, or her mom,
honestly, if what you're saying ends up being true and she just was a human with magic from that bloodline, then it legit even could have been her.
So,
that would be so sweet too. Oh, I love that. Dang it. Now I don't know which one I want. I still think I want her to be a witch.
Exciting, and that's my theory. So,
I have one other thing to add to this. It's about not necessarily witches, I think, in general, but it's another, like, potential connection between the two, between specifically Throne of Glass and ACOTAR. So the mother, you kind of inadvertently brought this up earlier. The mother that they refer to in ACOTAR could be the three-faced goddess from Throne of Glass. And I just like, now that everything's connecting to me, like, I just think
goddess is again and why she's important, because I saw a lot of theories and I just couldn't remember.
The three The three-faced goddess is who that's like the witch's goddess. That's who they talk about all the time. So I guess this is why like it's loosely connected to witch, but it's not like about witches specifically. In ACOTAR, when Nesta first scribes, Amren says that the 3 stones needed to scry were to represent, quote, the 3 faces of the mother. That's why there were 3 stones, which is, I don't know, suspicious. But then she also said that she forgot why what the 4 bones that they need represent. So there could be more to that, but there was an unknown symbol on the bones. It was specifically described as a thin, reedy letter on each bone. And so if the connection between the three-faced goddess and the mother is confirmed, then I think that is a word mark, because it's an unknown symbol. And then again, it just ties in. Honestly, like at this point, and Taylor and I have talked about this too, like
it's a word mark.
Unknown symbol, I just assume is a word mark.
There's nothing
at
else.
This point. Like, that's the only thing it could be. And the only reason Sarah would even mention an unknown symbol in my mind. But that's just another connection to the Throne of Glass world. Then, if the 3 stones are like Amren said, the 3 faces of the mother, the three-faced goddess, that's who the witches worship. I don't know. Could be more. Could be something else. Who's to say other than Sarah and me to accept? But I think that pretty much for me confirms everything that I needed to know, especially because in Crescent City, the Underking already confirmed that their goddess Erd is they said they call him by another name. He said something about the cauldron, and then also the fact that in his old land it was just called Word. So to me, that right there connects all 3 worlds: cauldron, Word, and Erd. So I don't know. I just think like the fact that all these gods and goddesses, or not gods and goddesses, are being loosely connected. I am a big fan of finding out that the mother and the three-faced goddess were the same, and that that also is just further proof to me that her mom could have been a witch. So I've also seen loose theories. I don't remember the reasoning behind it, so I don't want to talk about this either, like you didn't want to talk about them having a different dad, but I've seen theories online that Moore is also a witch.
That's my next topic. We've got a lot to back that up. Excellent.
I'm glad that didn't even know we were going to talk about it, so I'm glad I brought that up.
Here we go. Moore is a witch? Question mark? That's what I put in my notes. So, Croatian witches wear red capes. This is how we're going to start. Just something a little loose, just to dip our toes in the water, and then we dive in. Croatian witches wear red capes. Moore is always in what color, Melissa? Melissa, please.
Blue. No, I'm just kidding. Red.
So she's always in red.
I just wanted to ruin the reveal.
There are constant references that relate more to the natural habits of witches and similar tendencies that Manon also had. Now, this, I don't know if I'm on board with this entirely, just to preface, because I feel like where everyone's getting their theories with, their proof, exactly, with Moore being a witch, also can just align with a woman scorned, to be honest. So here's the evidence.
True.
Quotes: she would rather die and return as something wicked and cruel and shred them all apart. Next quote: she wished she could grow claws and rip out that pale throat, but that was not her gift. Her gift had left her here, broken and bleeding. Next quote: the blood and the iron.
Ooh. To me, that one's pretty damning.
Next quote: the blood and the iron and the soil beneath her nails. ... Next quote: she often dreamed of gutting him, sometimes with a knife, sometimes with her own bare hands. So,
that one feels more scorned to me.
It's like, you easily could see that as Moore's just upset because she was almost killed and she wants to get some revenge. but you could also see that as some underlying witchy tendencies. So it just kind of goes, where do you want to believe?
Yeah, I like the second quote you said to me is pretty, I don't know, like the one about how she wished she could grow, what was it? The grow iron nails, but that wasn't her gift or something?
That was not her gift.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one.
To me, that's like, okay, well, that's 100% Kraken, because they didn't have the iron teeth or the iron nails. So, and I'm just gonna, I know we talked about this on other episodes, but just in case no one or someone hasn't listened to any of our Throne of Glass episodes, I like that you and I are just both firmly holding on to our truth of how we pronounce Kraken. You keep saying Crocian, I keep saying Kraken, and neither of us are gonna conform and say it, but we're talking about the same thing.
All right, next point.
I know. I like it. I love us.
In a court of silver flames. No, in a court of frost and starlight. In a court of frost and starlight. Moore's chapter has a line that says, quote, "Yes, her blood called to her. Go as far and wide as you can. Go on the wind." Ooh, does that sound familiar? And in Queen of Shadows from Throne of Glass, Manon says, "You've never heard the wind calling your name, Elite Lurkin. You've never felt it tug at you. You've never listened to it and yearned to fly towards the horizon and to foreign lands." There's a lot going on there with the winds and flying with them.
Ooh.
But again, you could chalk that up to just...
And lots of calling on the winds.
The colors of the wind.
Nope.
Not with Sarah.
Not with Sarah.
Everything's something.
Not with Sarah.
Okay, so... There's that.
Everything
there's
is
that
something.
Little tidbit. And lastly, Moore is described as the inner... This one maybe sells me. I'm excited to read this to you. The inner circle...
Okay. I'm already like 90% sold.
Their last line of defense. Not in any sense that she's super powerful. We know that her whole deal is truth. But they said, I think it's Rhys who says, Moore is who I'll call when the armies fail and Cassian and Azriel are both dead. Why would he call Moore when they're both dead? Could it be because she would be capable of the yielding? So that when they go, they all go together?
Ooh.
So, I know. Chills.
Oh, Ellie.
Chills.
All right. Yes, wow, okay. Here's the thing, too. I know that we are eventually, whether it's in this next book or in a novella or in another book down the road, we are going to get more of Moore and Eris, and their story, and I also believe we're going to get a redemption for him, which I want, but all that to say, we are going to get so much more of her backstory. And we're gonna get Azriel, I think, soon. We've gotten Cassian, we have Rhys. I mean, like, and I don't know how much of Amren's we're actually gonna get, but I just, like, there has to be more there. I also kind of hate that Moore is her nickname and Moore is also another word, because I feel like it might be confusing. But there's gonna be more to her story. And I want it to be this now so bad, especially if their mom, the Archeron sister's mom, is a witch. I would love for them to somehow be connected, not like familial,
like they knew each
but
other,
like
they fought with each other.
Oh yeah, I knew her, or like she trained more, or something.
I did not consider that there could be two at a time. I really was like, it's either the Archeron mom or Moore. It would not be both, but it absolutely could be both. That's something I didn't even think about.
It totally could be. I will say the one thing, it feels unlikely that Rhys wouldn't know.
Sure.
If we're going to play devil's advocate, it feels unlikely that Rhys wouldn't know, and if he did know, it feels even more unlikely that Feyre wouldn't know. So unless we find out that he told Feyre long ago, and she just...
It is likely, and I have a point, and it ties so well. You are literally leading me into every point just so gracefully today. Your mind's gonna be blown.
We are simpatico.
Okay, you ready?
I'm so ready.
So
blow my mind, Ellie.
So, we know that Moore's power is truth-telling, right? She has the power of truth. She brings the truth out of people.
Yeah.
Sarah J. Maas confirmed that in her next book, there is going to be a theme of betrayal. And so, we have to wonder if one of the inner circle members is going to end up betraying. And if Mor's power is the power of truth, could she also keep truth from somebody? Could she hold the truth, hold people from telling the truth? And so then there's another theory that she is causing Eris and Azriel to keep some kind of truth about her to themselves, and that is going to cause some incredible dismay. And so to your point with Rhys saying, oh, well, he would probably know if she was a witch, she could be keeping that truth from him or keeping him from telling anybody else.
Ooh, yes. Okay, honestly, if Sarah does not write all of this, I'm gonna write a fanfic spin-off of this being the mom is a witch, Mor's a witch, she has truth-telling, but that like the part of that no one knows is that she can also withhold truth, and she's making everyone keep secrets, and then it's all gonna come out. And everyone's going to feel so betrayed. Oh my goodness, I am obsessed with the story I'm writing in my mind. I already know the next book. I know it already, and I'm obsessed.
And last point to this is the Ouroboros mirror. Not a lot to this, and I don't know if I agree, but it just seems that it's a very witchy object. There was more on Instagram, but yet again, I couldn't find anything, so whatever. Oh, do you know?
Oh, well... True, because no, I'm just thinking it's not necessarily the same, but they use enchanted mirrors in the witch towers, and the Ouroboros is a mirror, so I see the witchy connection. Yes. That's all I was going to say.
There was another theory, you'll have to find it yourselves, my friends, but there was another theory that goes on to say Hewn City is a city full of witches, somehow, some way, because Mor's dad was protecting the Ouroboros mirror. I don't know where this goes, but that's out there in the world.
If Mor ends up being a witch, if Mor does end up being a witch, I believe that that's the case because she'd had to have gotten it from somewhere. And we don't know, but the witchiness is passed down through women, and we don't know anything about her mom.
True.
So there could be more, I hate that. There could be something to that. Then, and we could learn additional information about her mother. I'm just trying everything I can to stop saying more.
There could be some additional information.
I know. Yes, I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to bring a thesaurus with me if we talk about her again, because
so that is everything I have on witches. If you know more, or if you have additional information, please share with us so we can all be mind blown together. Yes. And I actually have a little topic for next week I think we could talk about. I've not even brought this to Melissa's attention, so you're watching a real L.A.M.E Book Club pod meeting happen as we speak. Next week I want to talk about time travel within ACOTAR and ACOTAR, Throne of Glass, and Crescent City. I think there's a lot to that, and I went deep in a Reddit trail that I have a lot to say now. Yeah.
Excellent. All right, cool.
Catch us
I'm on
next
board.
Week for that
Good news.
podcast.
I don't hate it. Honestly. Well, thank you guys for being here. Don't forget to like our stuff on whatever, YouTube, Instagram. I don't know. Subscribe on YouTube. That's YouTube. Follow us on Instagram if you don't already. It's at L.A.M.E Book Club Pod. It's on everything. Twitter, not Twitter. Sorry. Wow, I'm really not doing well. TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. It's all at L.A.M.E Book Club Pod. So follow us, subscribe, like our things. Thank you so much for being here. We've had a lot of fun doing all of this. We love getting your feedback. It's been really fun to see that and watch our little community grow. So thank you guys. And we will... Oh, and listen to our book club episode that's going to drop on Wednesday this week. It's part 3 of Heir of Fire. In the Throne of Glass series, it's going to be on chapters 36 through 53, so don't miss that.
Is that what that is?
Nope, we have 4 parts. So this is part 3. We'll have one more next week.
So
yeah.
You don't want to miss it.
Little birdie told me part 3 is going to be
all right, guys.
the best. No, a little birdie told me that part 4 is probably going to be the best, but this one will be good too.
Have a great week, and we'll see you on Wednesday.